The Play's the Thing with your host, Judy Sleed. Special guest, Andrea Shastid. Underwriters are Taylor Cohen, Michael Knegan, Irv Ackerman, dear friend, Robert Fraza for Ashokan Talent. Now here's Judy.
Thank you, Lee. It's been a while, and I forgot what it sounds like to be a star, what it feels like to be a star. So today I have a lovely lady by the name of Andrea for my playmate for a half an hour. I don't know much. I just met Andrea recently. How are you, Andrea?
I'm fine. Thank you, Judy. Nice to be here.
And this very, very short time that I know you, like 10, 15 minutes, I was just amazed all the things you're doing. Now, let's just start from the back. I just heard that you bought a restaurant. You actually bought a restaurant.
Yes.
Tell us.
I keep asking myself, what was I thinking? I bought a restaurant in Sag Harbor on the Long Wharf called the Dockhouse. And it's a seafood restaurant, basically takeout. And we sit amongst all of those mega yachts out there, and it's just a beautiful spot.
Yes,
and I've fallen in love with the Dockhouse years ago. My sons worked there when they were putting themselves through college, so I used to pick them up and take them back home, and I always thought, well, if there was an opportunity to purchase the Dockhouse, I would love to, and the opportunity came up, so I was very happy.
I'm just amazed. I was just going to ask you, what made you decide to buy a restaurant?
I have always had a love of cooking. I love to entertain, I love to cook, I love to keep myself busy. I love to spend the summers back east. I actually live in Kentucky the rest of the year, but my father lives in Shelter Island. I come back in the summer so I can spend some time with him. And it just gives me the opportunity to do everything that I wanted to do my cooking, be with my family, and be in a lovely place. So
you actually do the cooking there? Or
I do. I make the soups, and I make the sauces now. I make the salads. So yes, I do. I've been experimenting.
It is just amazing. It is. And how many people can the restaurant accommodate?
Well, it's mainly a takeout and seafood shop, but we do have a few kind of bar stools. We have actually no liquor, but we have a bar area where people can sit out and look at the boats, and we have, it can accommodate probably 15 people to sit down. But like I said, the majority of the people will take out.
Take out, well, I just want to say, people who don't, we are from the Hamptons here, so Sag Harbor is in Long Island, and it's a beautiful place, place. So when did this occur? When did you?
This is my first season. I took over the ownership in April, beginning of April, and we opened May 5th. So this is my first year.
So how are you enjoying it so far?
I love it. I love it. I find it to be very, very challenging, and the people are nice. I have a partner who's been there for 15 years, so he's very knowledgeable, and I've relied on him for a lot of information, so it's worked out well. It's a great experience.
Do customers come up and ask you for recipes?
Well, no, not exactly, but they do comment on the soups because I've introduced quite a new variety of different soups. We still have we have the clam chowder, we have the Manhattan and the New England chowders, and then they used to do a bisque, but now we're doing a lobster corn chowder. We're doing a tomato bisque, basil, several different kinds of soups. So,
amazing.
Like I said, I'm experimenting.
And you only used to cook for your family, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And before that, before this restaurant, you were flying.
Yes.
Without wings.
Right. Not like Sally Field, but yes, I was an airline pilot in my other life. And way before that.
That's another occupation. I haven't heard women take it up. And where did you fly?
Well, I flew in many different places. I actually started out in the East Coast and made my way out west. I flew for Western Airlines for a while. Was married, had 2 small children, came back east. Actually used to fly out of East Hampton Airport into LaGuardia. I did that for a few years with the local airport. It was then East Hampton Airlines, and we used to go in and out of LaGuardia all day long.
From East Hampton to LaGuardia? Mm-hmm. So you were transporting not passengers?
Yes, we had a Beech 99. It held...
it takes about 5 minutes to get there.
Well, it took us about 45 minutes, I think. And then, of course, if you were trying to get out of LaGuardia and you were number 25 for takeoff, it was...
Well, of course, it takes time to take off and then land, but the actual flight...
Right, the actual flight. So half hour, you're right.
How much did that cost?
For the ticket for people to go into LaGuardia, I think at the time it was $199.
One way?
I'm not sure. It was either, I'm not sure.
Does it still exist?
No, it doesn't. The airline, I don't know what, I guess they just went bankrupt and it folded several years ago.
Well, it's such a good idea because a lot of places you have no direct connection. You have to take like several different transportation. It would be nice if you could just fly places.
Yes.
But I wouldn't want to own an airplane. Do you own one?
No.
Oh. And before you became a pilot, you were?
I was a flight attendant. Well, when I started, they were called hostesses.
Hostesses, yes.
And I went out and I had a brother who was very instrumental in teaching me how to fly. And I learned how to fly in California. And that was probably back in the early 70s, late 70s, actually.
So you said you and your brother were flying, but you come from a family of flyers.
Yes, I do. My father is a retired airline pilot as well. He flew for 30-odd years for TWA. And he's still, he doesn't fly obviously anymore, but he's here. He lives in Shelter Island. And he had a wonderful career. He enjoyed it. In fact, when I was a hostess, I actually flew with my dad on the same flight.
Oh,
it was nice.
Wasn't your mother worried?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Mm.
Well, I'm so happy that he's still here to tell his experiences. Maybe he'd like to come on my show.
Oh, I'm sure he would.
I would love that.
Oh, yes.
I would love to hear all about his experiences. You mentioned you have children.
I have 5 children.
5?
Yes, 5 children. I had, I have a second marriage, so I acquired 3 along the way. I had 2, and then I acquired the other 3 when they were very young, so I've raised all 5. And now their ages are 17 through 24. 2 have graduated. 2 are still working on it, and the other one is about to enter college.
So the 5 are not all living with you?
No, not right now. Mm-mm.
So where are they? Are they scattered all over?
No, not really. I mean, we live in Kentucky the rest of the year, so I have, my one son is back there. The other one is here in New York. The other one will go back to get his master's in Ohio. And the oldest boy, he will go visit his mother, his biological mother in Tahiti this winter.
Tahiti?
Yes. His mother lives in Tahiti, so he'll go back there and spend the winter.
And you mentioned before your ex-husband lives in...
New Zealand.
New Zealand.
I know, we are scattered, I guess.
You married somebody from aside from the United States?
Yes.
And your
married
husband also married somebody from...
Mm-hmm. That's right. We, I don't know how that happened, but it really worked out. To take a situation, and a divorce is never easy, but it worked out because both of our exes were out of the country, so we didn't have the children being able to go back and say, well, Mom told me this or Dad said that, and it worked out okay. They just had to deal with us. But yes, my husband's ex is in Tahiti and my ex is in New Zealand.
Wow, it's very, very interesting.
Well, it's great for the children because they get to go see their parents and have a great time, you know.
Yeah, that's right. They could fly every place.
Right.
And are you from Kentucky?
No, I'm originally from New York, just Long Island.
Okay, whereabouts Long Island?
I grew up in a little place called Lloyd Harbor, Huntington. Well, actually, I spent my first few years in Hicksville, and then,
You traveled around almost as much as I did.
a lot, yes. Well, I had an airline career, so I never really stayed in one place very long. But I've lived in East Coast, Midwest, California.
At one time in my life, I worked in a beauty salon in Manhattan. And we used to, a lot of airline stewardesses, hostesses, excuse me, came in and we used to do their hair. You wouldn't be one of them, did you? In a Marriott hotel in Manhattan.
I probably couldn't afford it back then.
Oh, the airline paid for it.
Oh, did they? No, my airline didn't pay for that. Otherwise, I surely would have had it done. No, I was probably living.
I remember they all had such long hair.
Yes.
The hairdressers were so tired of blow drying the hair. It take forever.
Well, then they had to pull it back anyway, so they weren't allowed to wear it down.
Oh. So, being in Kentucky, it comes to mind that there are a lot of horses there. You have anything to do with the horses?
No, I do not. I go to the Derby, especially if I have some guests that come into town. But other than that, I don't ride. But
do you bet on them?
I do. I go and bet on them. Yes, I enjoy that. I enjoy going to the track and putting down my $4 and seeing if I can.
When I was married to I only had one husband, but he used to love to go to the racetrack. And I learned from him, how to bet on horses. And I have to admit, before I knew anything about it, I used to win. But once I knew, and then I used to look at, how much weight the jockey has and what's the past performance. And then forget it. I was better off when I was looking at the colors.
Well, then you're a pro, because that's how I do it. I just look at the colors.
Yeah. Right. It is. They even said that I went on my honeymoon to a racetrack. He was always going to the racetrack.
On your honeymoon?
Well, it was actually my first anniversary we spent on the racetrack.
Well, if it was someplace like Churchill Downs, I mean, that is, that's an event. That is someplace to go to.
I don't know. It was in Saratoga.
Oh. Well, that's nice too.
It is a lovely place. They still have horses there in Saratoga.
Mm-hmm. I actually have a friend of mine, the fellow that I purchased the restaurant from, owns race horses, and he has a horse racing this Saturday up at Saratoga.
Really?
So he's all excited.
Have you ever been there?
Yes, I have been there just once.
Did you drink the spring water?
I don't think I did.
Oh, they have one of the waters that they have is so bitter you can't even drink it.
Oh.
They used to tease me all the time. Go have some of that. It's very good for your health. But even when you go near it, you could smell how awful it is.
Really?
I mean, not all. This is just very few of them, the spring water. But they have very healthy water up there.
I'm used to mint juleps.
Excuse me?
I'm used to mint juleps. That's
Pardon
what we do in
me.
Kentucky.
Pardon?
Served in little mint julep glasses.
Yes. So any of your children are interested in becoming flyers?
No. In fact, my oldest son, I asked him if he'd like to take flying lessons and told him I would pay for it, and he said no. None of my children have any interest in aviation. And
How is
my
that?
ex-husband is a pilot, and I just don't understand why they
And your
don't.
present husband?
No, he's a businessman.
Oh.
He's retired right now, but he was in sales for many years with a company out of Louisville called Brown Forman. So
So
he
your
had nothing
children
to
are
do.
interested in
No,
what he's doing?
I think so. They'll find what they want to do. I think one son will go into, I think they'll all go into business of some sort. My eldest just graduated with a degree in French literature, so I'm not sure what he'll do with that, but.
Maybe he'll go to Paris.
Wow.
You know, do you know that song? How you gonna keep them down on the farm? You don't know that song?
I've heard about it. I
Oh my gosh,
don't
that's
remember.
from the 1910 or something. After they leave Paris. Well, I didn't mean to sing.
That's okay. Better you than I.
I used to have a nice voice. Well, anyway, what was I going to say? And the other children?
Well, they're still in school. I don't know what direction they'll go. My one son has expressed interest in the diplomatic part of...
Politician.
Maybe. I don't know. He's an interesting character, so I think...
All politicians are.
he likes to have himself heard, so maybe that's a good thing for him. And our youngest is our daughter, Kimberly, who is just a very, very talented young lady, and she's 17. She's going to be going off to college. She is an artist. She also speaks probably 4 or 5 languages now. She spent her junior year of high school in China, in Beijing, so she's totally fluent in Chinese, so I expect her to do something with languages. But we'll see. I mean, you never know.
That's right.
You just never know.
It's amazing. So, getting back to your restaurant, who does the promotion for it? Or?
Well, you know, it's been established now for 15 years, so it really, people know it's there. We do have new menus that I've printed up. We have a couple of flyers out there about the catering and trying to do a little more catering business. It's just word of mouth, I guess. A few.
Well, during the summer, it's superb. But you're not open during the winter,
No,
are you?
no. But we have the traffic, you know, the foot traffic. People leave the village and they just start walking down to the end of the Long Wharf, and it's just right there. So you just can't miss it.
I've seen it many times. It's always lively.
Yes.
Yes, and fish is so healthy.
Yes, and we have our fresh fish. It comes in daily, and we just make sure everything is done just right.
It is, and you have a lot of people coming. Are you up front to sell, or are you just always in the background?
I'm both, but I'm mainly in the back. We have some lovely young girls who work the front counters, and they're just very charming. So they are there to take care of the customers, and I'm more or less in the back.
Because I thought maybe people come in and say, "Oh, hi, what are you doing here, Andrea?"
Well, I try to get out front. I'm a people person. I've always, my airline career, especially the flight attendant part of me, still wants to go out there and mix and mingle with the people, but it's a fast pace. You don't really have a lot of time to do that, but I try.
You still have time. You're still young. You could next business. You will. Who knows? Maybe you'll be an actress. Did you ever think of doing that? You could.
I don't think so. I think I've already bitten off more than I can chew here.
Oh.
I've got my hands full.
I'm sure.
And I still have my family, which I enjoy spending a lot of time with them. So this will be enough to keep me busy.
When you were a hostess,
Yes.
did you meet a lot of interesting people, I'm sure?
Yes.
Anything sticks out? Anyone sticks out in your mind?
Well, I had a wonderful long career as a flight attendant before I became a pilot. And if I could have taken both of those jobs and combined them into one job, I think I would have had the perfect job. The challenge of being in the cockpit and landing a 727 is phenomenal. And then being in the back and having the mix of interesting people, that was great too. As far as experiences, I think probably the one thing that stands out in my mind is my trip to Russia in 1972. I took then President Nixon. Well, I was part of the crew that went over to Russia for the first time. And we took all the White House press correspondents and Dan Rather and all of those guys. And it was an exciting time to be with the airlines. And of course...
Did you get to spend time when you landed?
Yes, we were there for 2 weeks. We went to, it was 2 or 3 countries. We went to, this is way back when, Tehran. We went to Salzburg, Austria. We went to Kiev, Russia, Moscow, Leningrad, and probably one other place that I can't remember. But we were able to...
you said Austria?
Yes.
That's very far from Russia.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it was just part of this two-week tour that we were on. And it was interesting because once the president leaves, we take all the correspondence, the White House correspondence, so we have to take off, get there before the president lands, so all of these photographers and camera people can get out there and start shooting the president and get that on film. So it was just a very exciting time. So that one trip stands out in my mind. I actually did 2 of those trips, so that was...
With Nixon?
Yes, both with Nixon. Yes. And then, of course, you had your celebrities, you know, Paul Newman. I've seen Dustin Hoffman, just, you know, everybody who was anybody. If you flew from New York to California, which I did many, many times, you just saw all those people.
Did you have any difficult passengers?
Yes, you always have difficult passengers.
You always have.
But I thank them because they've given me my tough skin, right? You know,
Yeah.
They did me a favor. I think I can take anything now.
Oh, really?
That and children. Yeah.
Oh, children, sometimes you just can't stop them from crying.
Oh, yes, I know. Yeah.
Actually, well, everybody has their own opinion how to raise children and what is available, you know, what is permissible and what isn't.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm still wondering about that. You know, you sit there and you say, gosh, what should I have done differently?
Uh-huh.
But you can't go back.
No,
Yeah.
and there's no sense beating yourself up when you think you did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I always tell my children, whatever I did wrong, I'm still here. So you could, you know, talk about it and you could fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hold it in, because after I'm gone, you have nobody to discuss it with.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, that's the good thing. I have children, and I love being a mother and grandmother.
Oh, your grandmother.
Oh, yes, I have 4 grandchildren.
Oh, how nice. Congratulations.
So, where is your origin?
Well, my father is Polish. My mother was Irish. And so I'm just still a mixture of the two. My
The
father's...
Irish is showing.
Is it?
Yes.
But of course, I call my husband a mutt, but he's he's a mixture of French and German and I don't know what else, English maybe, but I kind of think of myself as a purebred.
Yeah, then I have this show like for 3 years, and very few people were truly American. You know, everybody was like a second generation, at least.
Well, and I was raised by my grandmother, my father's mother, who was a tough Polish woman, and I have to say she was the one who probably inspired me the most to have my love of cooking.
I was just going to say that.
She had one of these old wood-burning stoves, and I would sit there as a young girl and stir the pot, and I thoroughly enjoyed that.
So you probably learned a lot of her ways of
yes,
doing
I did.
things.
It's this. I don't measure anything.
It
It just goes in the pot. And sometimes now I've got the soups down to a science where I almost don't have to taste them. You know, I just know how much to throw in.
I never taste anything when I cook. I always say, you taste it first. Yeah, I'll never forget when I was a young wife and mother, and somebody came over and stayed with me. And she said she was going to teach me how to make a pastry, Linzer cookies. And she was like, well, let me write it down. So a pinch of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And that's the way I have it written down, and I've been using that same recipe. And you just can't go wrong no matter what you do.
The Linzer cookies, right? Or Linzer tarts, is that what they are?
Cookies.
Cookies.
We call them cookies because
Do they have the little hole in the middle? Is that what they do?
No, that's the way they do it in the restaurants or bakeries. This you do it in a baking pan, and then after it's finished, then you cut it up into cookies. It's everybody. I used to make parties, and people would come in. Where are those cookies? Where are those cookies? That's what they're looking forward to. They didn't look forward to the food or the drinks. Cookies.
Well, that's a nice compliment.
Yes, it was.
When my boys were growing up, I had a salsa recipe that I made. I made fresh salsa. I actually marketed here. I had it in a few of the stores in East Hampton years ago. And some of the kids would come home from school and they'd say, "Oh, Mrs. Shastid, would you please make me your salsa?" So it's nice when you get requests.
Would you believe it, Andrea?
Yes.
The time is up.
Ready.
And I want to thank you for coming. You were a delightful guest.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
sure
you for having me.
And I want to thank my crew, another Andrea and Adrian. How could you discern those two names? I don't know. I know Adrian is waiting for my shoes. And, and all my underwriters, I really appreciate their interest in my show. And we are airing here 4 times a week, and further up the island, twice a week. Excuse me. And in Manhattan, that's New York City, once a week. So you never know who's going to call you up and ask for your autograph. And you could stay tuned. We have LTV's a lot of interesting shows. And I tune in a lot of times, and